Chambo. I don't call him Brother Emmanuel because my wife is a Chambo and he's a Chambo. I say, your brother is calling. He said, your brother is calling. So that's how I always refer to him. Thank you, Brother Chambo, for his sons. Enemies of God's vision. God has a vision for us. We are here. We have vision. We have aims. We are not sitting here because we want to come here for a social plan. We have a reason. We have a vision. But as God is preparing us for this vision, there are also people who are pulling us. They are pulling us. From within and from without, they are trying, and they've been trying since creation. They've been trying, but you know what? In the name of Jesus, we shall make it together. Shall we pray? We thank you, our Father in heaven, for this day and giving unto your children. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to come onto your feet. As sinful as we are, we pray that, Father, you wash all our sins. That most importantly, this worship will be acceptable. So that you will smell this in your presence, and the blessings due to your children, you shall give unto us. Thank you and pray in Jesus' name. Thank Brother Patrick for the reading from Matthew chapter 2. You look at it and you don't know where it's going to come from, but we will make it out by the grace of God. So our main text is Matthew chapter 2. And this sermon came to my mind last week, Brother Matthew, yes. When I was teaching about commitment, he gave some reasons for causes of lack of commitment. And I think he mentioned the failure of an individual not adhering to the teachings of Christ. But I must call it spiritual commitment. He also mentioned we also know from the studies of Ephesians, Brother Frank is helping us, that we are all building upon the foundation. And when we relate it to what Brother Anobi taught us again for over 3 years, some of us are building with precious stones. Beautiful. Unfortunately, some of us are building with wood, hay, and straw. But God is going to test it with fire. So the question is, will my wood stand? The hay, the straw that I'm using to build, will it stand when it is tested with fire? One of the reasons Rabbi said is unwillingness to grow or mature. Not willing to grow. So we are behaving like children. One of them, he said, lack of spiritual vision. And this is where my interest was. And one more was conforming to the world. And Brother Fifi picked it up during the fasting and prayers. Do not conform. And he was hammering it to the youth. Youth, you have a big job to do. Just as the adults and the parents also have. So we will look at the vision of God in brief. We will look at the enemies of God's vision, enemies of progress. We will look at some of the examples in the Bible, how the enemies have been acting. And briefly touch on legacy. If you want to leave a legacy for our children, what should that be? Lessons and then conclusions. So we hope to finish within next 10-15 minutes by God's grace. So, now let's look at God's vision from the beginning. What was God's vision for us? God created mankind to come and live forever. That was God's plan for us. But when man sinned, that vision was gone. Not knowing God has already got plan B for us. So before we were created, or if you listen to Brother Arnold's prayer, God knew our end before we began. God has already planned everything for us. So immediately that man lost. In Genesis 3:15, there was a prophecy that is difficult to explain. But later, God spoke to Abraham. Through your offspring, all nations will be blessed. And that blessing is a spiritual blessing. It is not material blessing. So that promise, God's given us that vision. But at the time when it was given, enemies also started fighting. In the Garden of Eden, the first enemy was the devil coming in the form of the snake to try to snatch it away. But God said, I will reinstate it. So in Genesis 22:17, God said, I will surely bless you and make you descendant as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand of the seashore. Your descendants will take possessions of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations. He didn't say only Israel. He didn't say the Canaanites. He didn't say the Jebusites. He said all nations shall be blessed. Because you have obeyed me. That means many people were not obeying God. But at least Abraham did. The promise was repeated to Isaac and Jacob that all nations shall be blessed. The vision of God for mankind is set in stone. What I mean is, the vision is there. It is going to come to pass. Whether we like it or yes. It's not whether you like it or it is coming to pass. God has planned it, God has resourced it, God has protected it. It is coming to pass. And we are blessed because we are part of that vision. We share in God's vision that we are here because of eternal living in Jesus Christ. But in the time of Noah, enemies of God's vision, enemies of progress, every inclination, the thought, like the water they drink, everything was evil. And we read about those angels who came on the earth, and things were worse. Knowing that God wanted us to live forever. God has a plan for us. But that plan was being attacked every day and every night. So the people of Noah, they tried to annoy God. In fact, they annoyed God. God said he had regretted creating mankind. But again, God found favor with Noah. So even though the rest were destroyed, Noah found favor. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of human race had been on the earth, and every inclination of their thoughts, everything they think about it is evil, and they did practice evil. God actually regretted, but he found favor with. Again, through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God chose the Israelites, through whom all nations should be blessed. But what happened to the Israelites? They went into slavery in Egypt. That didn't prevent it. The Egyptians could not prevent the God's vision coming to life for us. When they came back, again they went into captivity for 70 years. The Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Persians, they captured them, they kept them, but God's vision was still alive. So you see, no matter what the devil does, the vision of God will come to pass in our lives. The Israel as a nation themselves, these are not from other countries. They themselves, infighting, brought about the division of the heart. Israel into two. The north, which were intermarried and become Samaritan, they were unclean. But still God kept the smaller one, Judah, and the southern kingdom, so that his vision would come in our life. And even in Judah itself, Judah, the one that was kept for the sake, on the account of the patriarchs, so that God's vision will come back, there was also another problem there. So the problem from outside, the problem within Israel is divided, and in Judah, the smaller one, also inside, there is problem. enemies of God's progress. The Jews and the people of Judah, whom were left, also tried to stop the vision by crucifying the Messiah. Now we go to Matthew chapter 2. We see the unfolding visions and the enemies of progress here at this in Matthew chapter 2, some of them. So when Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, the Magi from the east came to I don't know who this Magi are. To be frank, I tried to look at them. They said they were astrologers, they were magicians from the east. We have no roots about them. We don't know where they come from. But they came anyway. They came to Jerusalem and asked, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? How come the Jews didn't see? And foreigners came to Jerusalem and said, where is the one born King of the Jews? Interesting. The chief priests and the teachers of the law, they were all there. We saw his star when it rose, and we have come here to worship. These people are not Jews. They have come to worship the child that is born. Strange. When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed. Chief enemy of prophets. People who are not even Jews, they have come to worship because you have heard that a child is born probably less than a week, and the king with all authority, you are disturbed. What is going on? So when he had called together all the people, the chief priests and the teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. And you know that they know it's already in Bethlehem, in Judea. They mentioned it. And then the prophecy came to pass that a ruler will shepherd my people from Israel. Then Herod called the Magi secretly and said, go and look for the child. When you see them, come and tell me so that I can also do it. Worship. You see the wickedness of man. He thought he is in secret. Nobody knows. Hey, go and look for the King of the Jews. You know, when you see him, come and show me. I also go and worship him. He had evil intention to kill that baby, not knowing your attempt to stop the vision of God is rather promoting the vision of God. So what happened? After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star led them to the place. When they went there, they were overjoyed. These people were so happy to see the King of the Jews. And the Bible said they bowed down, prostrate, they worshiped Jesus Christ. As a child, as a toddler, they worshiped Jesus. But when they were coming back, Spirit told them, hey, go the other way around, because King Herod, he said he's coming to worship. He's a liar. They want to come and see the child and kill him. So go through another means and go to your country. So they went around. Now when King Herod got to know that he has been deceived, what happened? He was very, very angry. He was disturbed. And he calculated the time that the child was born. And it was about 2 years and below. He commanded all male children be killed. And indeed, they were killed in Jerusalem and around that area, so that Jesus would be gone. Not knowing, the Spirit has also told Joseph, go to Egypt. And going to Egypt also made the prophecy come to pass. Out of Egypt, I called my son. Now when he realized that he had been outwitted, that's why he ordered that all the children should be killed. And that was a prophecy from Jeremiah, who said, a voice is heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because they are no more. How can you see your children 2 years and below being slaughtered, killed? You think they will stop? They can stop weeping? No. Look at the wickedness of man trying to stop the vision of God coming to pass in our lives. After Herod died, The angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream in Egypt and said, "Get back, take the child and his mother and go back to the land of Israel. For those who were trying to take their child lives are now gone." So they came. But when they came, unfortunately, the son of Herod, Archelaus, was also reigning in Judea. And they were afraid. Like father, like son. Wickedness could be passed on. And as we are in the church, we pass on that righteousness onto our children. We said about legacy. In this world, what can we give to our children? What is more important than letting our children know Jesus Christ and following them? What is more important than that? Herod wanted to kill Jesus. The son who came to the throne after the father has died also was wicked. So they left there and they went to Nazareth. You see, they were pushing the aim, the vision of God, but they were also helping the prophecy to come to pass. So they went to Nazareth, and through the prophet, they said Jesus will be called a Nazarene, and that came to pass. Now, other enemies of God's vision, apart from what we have seen, Peter, whom we spoke about last week, Peter, who was among the inner circle, the 12 apostles, and even the inner, within the three, Peter, James, and John, and even within the inner, Peter is on top. He became enemy of God's vision, enemy of progress. In Matthew chapter 16, for that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders and the chief priests and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day raised to life. Peter said, "Jesus, come here. Jesus, come here." He took him aside and rebuked him. This is not going to happen. Yeah? It is never going to happen. And Jesus was okay. You need to turn around. You Satan, get away from me. Your thinking is just man. You want us to do the miracles and go around and be big boss. Yeah? I have to die. So Peter rebuked Jesus, telling him and also rebuked him that your mentality is only man-made. Think in the spirit. Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. We think we are not saying it verbally, but our actions, what brother you said, do not conform. What are we conformed to? Are you sure we are conforming to some spiritual things? No. We see on the TV, latest design, latest things, the film, so many things attract us, the lust of the eye. When we see it, it attracts us. Yes, I want this. And we also follow. We fight. We struggle with the world. The world are picking now, we also picking, they pull it, we also pull it. And at the place, we are choked by the world. In fact, our main enemy is the world, not ourselves. What they want to do is what we also want to follow. They take one step, we take two steps. And we are not balancing it right. We are not putting worshiping God at the top of our agenda. But when we have spare time, then we use the spare time to worship. It shouldn't be. Again, Paul, who was, he said, I was abnormally born. He was premature. Abnormally born. Who came last also became enemy of God's progress. Enemy of vision, because Paul persecuted the church. The church is where, if you are saved, God asks you to the church. So the church contains the saved ones, waiting for the last day when Jesus Christ will hand over to Jehovah. This is the people that have been saved. Let them live eternally. It is the church that Jesus says, I'm going to prepare a place, and when I'm done, I'll come and take you, and where I am, there you shall also be. This very church is the church that has the mentality of discipleship. It is the church who have to go out and preach. Jesus is not coming back again to come and preach. Jesus is not coming for people to throw stones and spit and no. When he comes, the second time, he will not even touch on the earth. You will see him in the skies. And those who are alive will be caught together with him. He's not even coming to step on this earth again. So Jesus is not coming here to go and knock on doors and do evangelism. It is our job. But these people that we have to do, spread the word, tell people about the vision of God. The very people who are supposed to do that, Paul said, I want to finish them. So he moved from synagogue to synagogue, from town to town, from city to city. But because he cannot fight God, he got to a point on his way to Damascus where he was blinded. And he heard a voice saying that you cannot kick against the gods. And gods is like a metallic things with some pointed things around. There are some defenders, football, they think they are very strong. You cannot tackle everybody. Your boot will be removed. So you fight and fight and fight to get to a place where you see you are helpless. You cannot fight anymore. Because the vision of God is set. The end has been planned. It is coming to pass. When you hear the teachings of Brother Frank, he said, predestination. The church is predestined to come. If you want to be saved, you have to be in the church. God has planned it. That's why they couldn't stop it from coming. In the days of Noah, they couldn't stop it. Israelites infighting, splitting the kingdom into two, and even Judah, the chief priest, he was there saying, crucify him. They thought they were going to finish Messiah, not knowing they are promoting God's vision. Why we should not conform, we should not become enemies of our own progress. At times, we are our own enemies. If you look at what Brother Maxwell taught us, not willing to grow. What Brother Fifi taught us, do not conform to this world. We see the millionaires, we see the models, the film stars, the musicals or the performers. They are bright, shining, attractive, with lots of paint and everything. It's beautiful, it's attractive, it is deceptive. That is what we want to be. Look, the millionaires, some are struggling. We take sleeping for free. Some cannot even sleep. The one major problem of Michael Jackson, he had everything. He couldn't sleep. Sleep was his biggest problem. Meanwhile, you see a security man sitting on blocks outside, yeah? And then the rich man, Oga Pata is inside. Oga cannot sleep. He will come outside to work and you see the security man sleeping and snoring on the blocks. This man, what is happening? I have a very comfortable bed. I can't sleep. And you security man, watch me. Look. People are suffering. The brother of Kate Middleton, depression is killing him. Some people want to be slightly associated with the truth so that you can get some pounds and some. He is dying. Depression. That means he has gone beyond anxiousness and stress and now depressed. Now he's taking medication for him. Listen, we don't need to follow these models. We shouldn't go there at all. It's not good. So we should not conform. Brother, thank you for your message. Alcoholism, addiction is killing others. These performers, when they come on the stage, addicted to drugs, they come and perform. See them afterwards. Go and see their lives. Some commit suicide in this Bollywood in India. Why do they commit suicide? America, go and see the stars, how they die. Drugs is killing them. Oh, is this what we want our children to be? Is it because it is attractive? It is deceptive. The youth, take the advice of Brother Fifi. Do not conform. Never, ever. Parents, we should not let them at all. If we want to have models, yeah, we should go to the Bible. And when you go to Hebrews chapter 11, they are there. Heroes of faith. They are there. By faith, Noah found favor. When everybody was sinning and going against God, Noah, by faith, even when rains have not come from the skies, he believed God that rains will come to destroy it. So he built the ark. By faith, Abraham, God said, go. And he went as if he had no sense. He was just going. If it were you and I, God, can you give me the address? Please, postcode. I want to know where I'm going. Is there food? Can I get shelter? He didn't ask anything. He was just going. Why didn't he question God? God, where am I going? If I go and I'm being attacked, what will happen to me? He just went. At times we do not understand, but we have to believe the words of the master that we are following. Again, Sarah, when the angel came and said, you have a baby a year by this time, she actually laughed. She said, I didn't laugh, but she laughed. But what we learn from her is that she believed on the one who made the promise. It did not depend on Sarah. No. She believed the source of the promise. She believed that God has said it and God is capable of doing it. And God did it. Even though Abraham was gone, Sarah was gone, but they still believed that God, I don't understand how this is going to be. Okay, I believe it. And it did come to pass. These are some of them that we can say we should be our mothers. Some were tortured. You know what? Hebrews 11:35. There were others who were tortured. And we can know in the Christian age, some were tortured to death. They refused to be released from prison so that they might even gain better resurrection. They were in prison and they refused. They said that we are not going out. Keep us in prison for life. We will die. They were tortured so that they would say that I do not, just to renounce Jesus Christ. They said, no, let me die. Verse 36, some fierce jeers and flogging. You know how many times? Paul said 5 times, 40 minus 1. And that 40 minus 1 is not 40. One whip has got about 6 or 8. So 1 gives you 8. So if that should go 40 times, you know, 4 by 8, 320. You will be no more a human being. Some suffered chains and imprisonment. Some were put to death by stoning, and we know Stephen, Hebrews 11:38, 37. Some were sawn into 2. Human being being cut into 2. To die, yes. Some were killed by the sword. You know sword? They used the sword to kill them. 37. Some went around in sheepskin and in goat skins. They were destitute. They were poor. They were persecuted and they were mistreated. Verse 38. The world was not worthy of them. They wandered in desert mountains. They lived in caves and they lived in holes in the ground. They were human beings. They were not animals. Verse 39 says, these were all commended for their faith. To God be the glory. Amen. This is the faith we should have. Without faith, we cannot serve our master. We cannot please God at all in any way. If these people were commended for their faith, these are the people we should learn from. But what do we see today? What do we see? Are you being commended for your faith? As any brother or sister said something about you and your faith that I am learning from you, that you are inspiring me, that you are encouraging me, that, oh, I feel so comforted by you. Are you helping a brother or sister? Or you are rather becoming an enemy, pulling them from their faith? So if people in the days of Noah were not able to stop the vision of God, then it is coming to pass in our life. If the Israelites themselves, within infighting, with the division, with the chief priests and the teachers of the law, saying that crucify him, crucify him. Even when Pilate said he should go, even those who were not Jesus, no, I don't see any fault with Jesus Christ. Let him whip him and then let him go. They said, no, crucify, 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 but not knowing, being enemy of God's vision, they rather promoted the vision of God in our life. The people of Israel, they went to Egypt, that did not stop. They were captured into captivity, that did not stop. Even the Judah, as we learned, Peter couldn't stop it. Paul, no way couldn't stop it. The rulers in Jerusalem, no, they couldn't. Now it is very clear that no one can stop the vision of God. But we have to continue sharing that vision. That vision comes in the form of discipleship. In Acts 11:26, that we say Christians. You know what? You cannot be called a Christian if you are not a disciple. Yes, the Bible says the disciples were first called Christians. So they were disciples before being called Christians. We call ourselves Christians. They didn't even call themselves Christians. We shouldn't even call ourselves Christians. Now, discipleship is a topic for the year. How are our hearts ready? So that we can spread the vision of God and not become enemies of God's vision. Because if you are not for Christ, then you are against Christ. Christ said, whoever is not against us is for us. But if you are against us, then you are against the vision of God. Would you like to stop it by not doing what God says we should do? You cannot stand in the middle. In Revelation, we know you are either for Christ or you are against Christ. There's no middle ground. So we may not say it that we are against the vision, but our actions will tell us we are against it. Because we are not promoting it. We are not working for it. If you are in the church and you lack commitment to grow, we need to renew our mind. The fasting and prayer thing is still there. Let us continue to renew our mind. If you are in the church and you are not encouraging others to grow, you are always in the stumbling block. You are putting heads together and causing trouble. You are enemies of progress. You are enemy to the vision of God. It is about unity and love and oneness and worshiping God in beauty of His holiness. But if you are pulling brothers or sisters aside for any other reason, you are becoming an enemy. Remember, Paul was an enemy. He was rebuked. He said, you cannot kick against the gods, and he changed his mind. Peter said, it is never going to happen, Yeshua. This is not going to happen. Jesus said, you Satan, get away from me. Peter changed his mind. If we are doing anything which is against the vision of God, we also need to change. If it is your work, Brother Marshall was telling me, he said, speak to your employees, speak to them. Do not let your work become an enemy of God's vision. Your work could be enemies of your progress to go into heaven. Our children could be enemies of progress. Enemies pulling us apart from worshiping God. Our husbands can be. Our wives could be. But that shouldn't be the case. So if we are in any way becoming an enemy of God's vision, we should stop it. Let us change like Paul changed. Or let us change like Peter changed. In fact, if your work will be a stumbling block, it is better to change your work. One time at the workplace, I said, oh, we have to work to live. I said, no. That's not true. We do not work to live. We were all working in the same school. I said, no. We rather live to work. I am working because I am alive. I do not work to make me alive. If I do not work, at least I will live. But I may be destitute, I may be needy, but Working doesn't give us life. It is the life we have from God that enables us to work. And our work should not be important than the work of God. Our work should not be, it shouldn't take priority over the worship. As I said, God does not want us to sit here 24/7, 7 days a week. We have time. Some of us have gone through that difficulty before, where security, you sign 24 contracts, you work day and night, they put you shift and they say, go and work on Sunday. And you have to take a decision. Saturdays, a time I'll be here, I'll be late because the lesson starts from 7 to 8. I have to start work at 7. There was no way. But God made a way. Make the effort. Make the effort. Some people resign from their work. You know what? The same work that man resigned, the same work is coming continue to do. Just test God and see how, even if we become destitute like those in Hebrews, you know what? There is nothing comparable to our vision. We need to fight for it. We need to stand so that, brothers and sisters, if you are building with chaff, we need to make a change. This year, we need to renew our mind. Let us not have any negative comment from brothers and sisters that you are not committing yourself, you are 50-50. It's not 50-50. There was a brother that we went for a funeral. I don't know, Mitchell, he was worshiping Mitchell and then came to somebody. I think the Bible knows that brother. One thing he said, I have never forgotten. In the hospital, those who were at his bedside said, if God gives my life back and I come to the church, I will worship God full time. That brother didn't come back. Do we have to wait and go to the hospital to be in that position before we say, God, if you give my life to me again, I will now worship you full time? No. We do it now. It's a sacrifice. It will pain us. But you know what? The reward is more than. It's more than. People were cut into two. People were in prison. People suffered so much. It looks like our Christianity now. There are question marks. That is, this is where we need to encourage one another. We need to support one another. We need to make sure we are on the right path. We need to commit ourselves to the call. We need to tell the world God's vision is coming to pass, and no one can stop it. No matter how strong you are, you cannot stop it. Eternity with God is the best decision for us as a children. God bless us.
We thank